Welcome back to Lessons in Property with me, Steve Hand. So this week we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to take you through a real life case study where we've got Joe Jones as the advisor and the client stroke developer that's talking together about their particular project. And this particular project has a slightly different angle where it's gone through probate, something we deal with quite a lot, and the client wants to purchase it off the people that it's been left to. They want to add some value to it, extend it, and then sell it for a profit.
Hi Joe.
Simon, how are you?
Very well, thank you very much. Obviously you do bridging, that's what you do. And I believe that it can be quite a daunting thing for people. I think bridging, they think, complicated, don't understand it, it's only for certain scenarios. So I thought trying to get this broken down to a nice, easy to understand sort of level for people, and to perhaps maybe give an example of something that I've come across and see what your thoughts are. Would this be something where you'd think, yeah, do you know what? That would work with a bridge, it would be financially viable, or don't even think about it, that's a ridiculous idea.
I think it's a good exercise to do, mate.
Right.
Fire away.
Let's do it. So, in this scenario, my wife's nan has passed away. It's a corner plot, quite a lot of land. You could easily extend on it. It's currently a 2 and a bit bedroom. I mean, the third room's a little bit small. Elder lady, so it's quite dated.
Lime room, bathroom.
Not so great. Not so great.
It,
I'm thinking flip.
Okay.
All right. And I'm thinking some type of extension in some way, shape or form to try and get another bedroom. And also, I'd like a dual floor. Is that the right word? Do we use that? Dual floor?
Double story extension.
Double story, yeah, all right.
That'll do, yeah.
I'd like that, to extend out the bottom bit and make the kitchen bigger, because the kitchen's quite small. And then ideally have a bigger bedroom upstairs, and the bathroom's quite small. So the half that's there, the 2.5, the half a bedroom, I would want to incorporate into the bathroom to make the bathroom bigger. And then have a larger third bedroom. So ideally it would come out as a 3-bed with a nice big bathroom and a nice big kitchen.
Awesome.
Because I always think bathroom and kitchen, key things in a house for me. Straight away off the bat, we've got a residential. That is in my wife's name.
How much is it worth?
220. I think there's about 100 grand
on the mortgage.
The mortgage. Money wise, we could obviously pull out of that. We have got some savings. So if we said we've got about 30 grand. Now, obviously, I understand the big thing here is I need to have looked into how much this renovation work's going to have cost me. But let's, for argument's sake, it's going to cost, what, 100 grand?
I mean, it depends where it is. So down south, an extension, a double-storey extension, let's say home counties, south of England, maybe 100 grand if you're doing it to a high spec, but realistically you could do something like that for 50, 60, north and in Scotland.
Right, so we're in Waltony Dale, in Preston.
60
about
grand.
A tenner.
Right,
60,
10 quid in Preston.
10 quid, right, yeah, nice, okay.
Pack of biscuits.
Yeah.
How much is property worth right now in its current state?
140, I believe it's on.
And I'm assuming there's no mortgage on it?
There's no mortgage.
Okay, so we've got your property that's in your wife's name that's worth 220 grand, that's 100 grand on the mortgage there. And then we've got a property worth 140,000 with no mortgage on. So if they're going to be selling it you at market value, and you were trying to use as little money as possible, the way that we would do this would be to use equity out of your residential property.
Okay.
So whenever you're doing a capital raise out of a residential property or a cross-collateral charge, and that is just fancy terminology for when we're buying this property, so we're going to put some loan on this property, but we're going to use our own property to top up. These are spider properties, okay?
Right, okay, yeah.
To top up the money, basically, that's needed to buy this property outright, so that we're not using any of your own physical cash. So what we do in this situation, we can usually go to about 70 to 75% of the value of your existing property in terms of a borrowing capacity. So if you've got 100 grand on there right now, I've not got my calculator with me, but if it's worth 220, you're probably looking at around about 150, 160, depending on the lender, maybe about 165 as a total borrowing amount that we can borrow on that. So what we'd have to do is, whatever that figure is, let's say it's 160, we remove the value of your first charge mortgage, which is £100,000. So that would leave £60,000 gross that we can put into this new property. Okay. Now, same principle for the property that we're buying. You can usually get somewhere in the region of 70, 75, sometimes 80% of the value of that property. 75% of that, 140. Quick maths on that one.
105.
105. 105,000 is what we can get as a gross loan on there. So if you combine the gross loan of that and the gross loan of the money that we can pull out of the other property, it takes us to £160,000. If we were to take the interest, because remember with bridging finance, you can either make a monthly payment, which is called servicing the bridge. Same as a mortgage, you pay a certain amount each month and it covers the interest, okay? A lot of people don't like doing that because it's usually quite a high commitment to make each month, and a lot of these people like yourself are doing property development.
And want to use that money each month
Exactly.
to actually develop property.
So what we do is we do what's called retained interest.
Okay.
The amount of interest that will be charged over the full term of the bridge, which could be anywhere from 3 to 15 months usually, they hold that back at the start. So let's say it's £1,000 a month in interest for your whatever you're borrowing, just to keep things simple. The lender will create a pot of £12,000 at the start of the bridge, and they'll take it out of your gross loan. So remember, in our situation, our gross loan was £165,000.
So they're going to take 12k off
12
that
grand will
straight
be
away.
taken off that, plus usually 2% as an arrangement fee. Let's say we've got 165 originally, probably actually only got about 150 that we can use once they've taken off the interest and the fees. These are rough figures just to give you an idea, because the interest rate will change depending on which bank or lender we go with, your experience, the sort of appeal of the project, you know, whether it's in a good area, bad area, all these sorts of things. But that's for me to figure out and look at, not you to worry about. So in this situation, realistically, we'll probably have about £150,000 that you can use to buy this property. Now,
And renovate though?
No. So what I can do is the same lender that we use to buy the property, I can get them to give us money to do the renovation work as well. We can get you the money based on these figures to buy the property outright. That 140,000 were good. And it's also leaving us a bit of money, about 10 grand, to cover any stamp duty costs, legal costs, things like that. Maybe a bit of valuation costs as well. So we can get all that covered. And then what the bank will do is fund you the money for the renovation work in drawdowns in arrears. Now the term in arrears is quite important because basically that means you need to have done the work to the property before the lender will give you some money. In this scenario, let's say it's going to cost us 60 grand to do that renovation work. We need to know what the end value of that property is going to be. If we're adding another bedroom, 280. So in this situation, it's 140 at the moment, we're going to spend 60 grand on it and it's going to be worth 280 at the end. So that means that based on those figures, the lender will give us the full £60,000 to do the renovation work. Because again, you can go up to 70 to 75% of the end value of a property to determine how much money you can borrow, but there always has to be an uplift in value if you're looking to borrow money for the renovation work. So in our situation, that's good. What the lender will do is they'll give us 150 grand because we're using equity in the property that we're buying and the property that you currently own to buy the property outright and cover stamp, legal costs and things like that, because you'll probably have to spend about 10 or 15 grand's worth of work before the lender will give you money in their first drawdown. We're probably going to need about £10,000 cash because we'll probably have about 5 grand left over after you paid for stamp and the legal costs.
So you're saying 10 grand out of my savings?
10 grand out of your savings will probably be needed.
To start the work's being done.
To start the work's
and then
being
someone will come around and look at it.
Exactly
and
that.
go, you've done that.
Exactly.
Now we're going to give you an extra.
Here's another 15 grand.
Right.
Do the next 15 grand worth of work. And then what you do is you then say, let Mr. Lender, I've spent another 15 grand. They say, brilliant, here's another 15 grand. And they will do that to completion. Now, usually,
Does someone pop round at each stage?
again, depends on which lender you're looking at, and it also depends on the size of the project that you're looking at.
doing.
Now, some lenders will want a full QS survey every time you do a drawdown,
QS is?
a quantity surveyor. So that's just where this individual will go out, assess all the work that you've done, and then say, yes, it's worth this amount, or yes, you've spent this amount of money. They report to the lender and say you can give them that additional funding that they've asked for, and you get it in chunks. The reason why we need to know all the information at the start in regards to what you're doing, whether it's structural work, whether it's decoration, new kitchens, bathrooms, whatever it is, will help us determine which lender to go with, because there are lenders out there that will not have a charge for a full QS to go out. They'll have one of their own team have maybe a quick assessment of what you've spent the money on, so that it means that rather than spending £1,000 each time you're on a drawdown, it's a couple of £100.
So why would anyone ever want to spend the thousands?
Because if you're doing extensive work, you almost always need
Have to
a
have a
QS.
QS.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially structural things like that.
So an extension?
Extension, with it being this size, there are some lenders that you could get away with. So this is why I sort of need to be involved in this type of process and know what's going on, because there are some lenders that will class this as heavy refurb work because there's structural work involved there.
Yeah.
Some lenders will class it as light because it's not...
Some heavy and some light.
Exactly, yeah. Some have completely different description of what they class as heavy, medium and light refurb
And it
work.
could be vastly different.
Can be vastly different. Some, as long as you're doing nothing that involves changing the square footage, the base square footage, will class any amount of money spent as light refurb.
So, QS obviously is costing a lot more than someone from the company popping around and just going, yeah, that's fine, crack on.
Exactly.
Can you always find a lender that will see something as light refurb and only, or is some work just without a shadow of a doubt is always going to be a QS level?
Anything that's ground up, always going to be a QS.
Right, so if I'm buying a warehouse, knocking it down, building it into 13 flats, QS all the way.
All the way, yeah.
But stuff like this, residential, and just doing what I'm doing, maybe a little bit more, is that normally something you can get through as a light or medium refurb without the need for a QS?
100%, yeah.
But would you get a better rate with the company that you're going to have to use a QS with?
Not necessarily.
So that doesn't sound like something I want then. QS, no thanks.
No thanks for the QS.
No thanks for the QS.
So the reason why sometimes you'd have to go down one route and not go down another is there are some projects that certain lenders wouldn't like. Me and Chelsea had a lender in the other day that was telling us how they don't charge QS fees, but they'll only lend in England. Right, so obviously that caveats some of our clients that are obviously based in Scotland won't be able to use that type of a lender. But obviously we've got plenty of lenders that do operate in Scotland that aren't bothered about doing this. Another thing to think of is some of the lenders that require a QS to go out will happily lend to someone who's a first-time developer like yourself.
Because they're having a QS go out and check on the work and so on.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Yeah. These are all the things to think about, but it's for me to worry about and not so much you.
With that, where lenders see you as a brand new person, or what if I had somebody on board that wasn't, like, so say my mate who owns a construction company?
In that scenario, it's very easy for me to argue with a lender and say this person is experienced, because if the two of you were to say JV together and get a limited company together to buy this property, then the team that's involved in the purchase and the build have experience within them.
Right, and they won't see me as a hindrance, even if that person's loads of experience and
not
a
at
lack
all.
of.
I mean, we've done it with giant developments, you know, out of the ground developments of 10, 15 units where there's someone on the team, usually the person that's brought the deal to us, because they're the people who are looking for these projects, will come to us and say, I've not got any experience, but I am backed by this person who owns their own company or has been a developer for 10 years, they've done X amount of projects. These are all things that we can use to sort of argue or explain to the lender to say, look, we want this, please get on board with this project first of all, but can we have a better rate? Can we have no exit fees? Can we have slightly better terms than what you would give to someone who is just straight, fresh out the doors looking at something like this? Okay. So these are all the things to think about.
Now, I think we've only considered the extension here, haven't we? Not all the works to the rest of the property.
We said 60 grand to do all of the works, basically.
Do you think that'll be enough? Bear in mind, I'm going to have to strip back and do the extension.
A 2-storey extension for additional 1 bedroom is definitely doable in the north of Scotland on that. Again, depending on area.
But then all the other stuff, kitchen, bathroom.
It might be a bit more. So the only thing to think about is, in our scenario here, we can probably go up to 70 or 75% of the end value, which is 280. If the amount of works that we need to do goes up, let's say to 100 grand, we're probably not going to be able to get the amount of money that we have done so far, because the end value isn't going up as much. Whenever you think of the end value, think, let's say in this situation, £280,000, what's 75% of that? Because that's the most any lender will go up to. So obviously 75% of that, again, quick maths, 280. 210, yeah? So 210 grand will be the most that the lender will lend us based on that figure.
Okay.
And that asset alone.
Well, I think to achieve that figure, it's going to need the extension, it's going to need full renovation.
So in that situation, it will mean that you will likely have to put money in somewhere along that line, a little bit more money.
Do we think, let's say I've got 50 grand myself, is this worth doing?
Is it worth doing?
I know this is just right off the cusp here like that, but is that worth doing? Would you say?
If you think spending 50 grand of your own money to buy this, because we're going to be selling this, to achieve 40 grand, an additional 40 grand, within, let's say, a 6 to 9 month period, if you're fine with that, then it's definitely worth doing.
Well, that seems reasonable to me.
Exactly. And these are the things that we need to think about. There's plenty of times people come to us with projects where it looks like there's only 10 or 15 grand in there, but they only have to put in physical cash wise, either maybe 10 or 15 grand themselves, or they don't use any of their own cash and they use an equity. They're generating money from nothing in those situations.
Yeah, or doubling.
In this situation, this is your first project. As soon as you've done one project, it then opens the door to dozens of other lenders that I can use, because I can say this person is coming to me with a second project. They've already done one. This is how it went. These are the numbers, all sorts of things. You're not a first-time developer then. So you get better rates and you get more lenders that you can work with. So in this situation, if you think gaining the experience of a flip and getting £40,000 once you've spent all that work and all the money used to obviously get to the property to that stage, if you think that's worthwhile, then this is definitely something that you should do.
Lovely.
Yeah?
All right.
Any other questions regarding what we've just talked about?
No, I think we could go on for another week and a half, but
We could
let's, I think, leave it there. Thank you very much.
No worries.
So there you have it, a really interesting case study with lots of learnings. And this is typical of what we hear quite a lot, where somebody wants to get into a project with very little money of their own going down. And that's where we've got to be creative and look at the whole picture and see what else is there to maybe raise finance against and get going. So there you have it. Until next time, over and out.